Whew. Spooky. You know, there's a reason I mentioned Tim Jacobs' cover art at the start of every review. And that's because the unique brand of storytelling inside every Goosebumps book is matched by an equally unique style of artwork on the cover of each. So much of the credit for Goosebumps becoming the cultural icon of the 90s that it was belongs to Tim Jacobs' slightly spooky, slightly silly, weird and wacky and colourful and varied covers. And while some of them definitely hit the mark more than others, for me, you cannot imagine the works of R.L. Stine without it. Or can you? Be it for copyright reasons or wishing to capture a different cultural aesthetic, many countries did and continue to use different artists' artwork for the cover of their releases of the Goosebumps books. How do they stand up to the Jacobs classics? Well, let's find out. In a special two-part Gattsy on Goosebumps special, I'm going to look at some of the best and some of the worst of Goosebumps international covers. We'll kick off with the best, and I have to say, I do love this French version of Night of the Living Dummy. As you can see, you've got the contrast between the terrified human protagonist, and Slappy just looks great on the front cover here. They've really accentuated his puppet detail. But if you thought that was creepy, look what they do for the sequel. My God, it is more terrifying than any Night of the Living Dummy cover that the Australian or American readers got. Imagine just seeing that, like, just sitting in a box somewhere. He's got this really skeletal quality about him. His hands look like skeleton hands. And it's no coincidence that they've gone with red paint in his hand, which is quite similar to blood. Absolutely terrifying. I love it. Taking a look at our British friends here, the British have a very unique style of Goosebumps cover art. It's always bright colours surrounding like a central image, and the image really sometimes doesn't hit the mark, as you'll see in next week's episode. But I love this Phantom of the Auditorium. Absolutely batshit crazy looking and just terrifying. He's manic. I love it. It takes away some of the mysteriousness of the Australian cover art and just replaces it with frickin' Madman. There's something quite humorous about this Dutch version of Cuckoo Clock of Doom. I don't know if the author read it and just got the title and just thought the story was about a fuck off bird. I love how the mother's just encouraging the son to eat his food before the bird strikes again. This is amazing Korean version of Say Cheese and Die. I mean, it's so simple, but like that look of absolute terror on that picture, and you know, blood splatters there. The Koreans, they don't mess around with this sort of stuff. It's such a same with the Japanese as well, slightly different, but they both have a unique sort of horror aesthetic, and it's captured so well. And back to the Dutch, and again they've done sort of both Dutch ones I've shown so far. They look quite similar to the American / Australian counterparts. They're just a bit more like graphic or visceral. They're less cartoony. So for The Girl Who Cried Monster, it's the same cover of like the librarian eating bugs, but look how disgusting it is. He's ripped open like a fish, and there's like blood all over the table, and he's just diving in and eating. He looks horrifying, and there's again two concerned people just like trying to go about their business, or like looks like they're watching their dad just like tuck into the fishbowl again. I really have to praise this French version of Beast from the East, because that is what the beasts should have looked like in the book, and what they should have been like on the cover. The Australian American version is so tame and so like a freaking blue panda. This looks like a dragon. It's so much better. Back to Night of the Living Dummy, this time an Indonesian version. You get a strong hint of Stephen King's It here, with like the obscured face and all these like looks like balloons around him almost. I love that you can't see his face. Very ominous. I really appreciate it. Another British one, and Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, the Australian English one, is just sort of a bit boring. I like that they've made the teacher a bit the focus of this cover, with his metal hands and like cyborg skin. It does give the ending away a little bit, but again, it seems like whoever did the English ones really excelled at drawing like frantic madmen on their covers. Back to that classic Korean horror aesthetic. Look at that for Stay Out of the Basement. I'm just a mad scientist with plants for hair, and he just, yeah, it looks insane. It's less subtle, obviously, than the Australian American version, but man, it does the job. And finally, here's another one of my favorites from the Japanese. Again, unique aesthetic. You know, like less is more. Scary, freaky kid in the middle of a burning house. It's just, it does make you feel scared. I love it. That was just a brief look at some of the international Goosebumps covers to show that, you know, it doesn't have to be Tim Jacobus to be a really terrifying, really exciting, and really interesting cover art. However, sometimes it's best that it is, because as we'll see in next week's episode, sometimes, man, they fuck it up bad. To hilarious results. So thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part Gattsy and Goosebumps special. I'll see you very soon. I'm just probably going to keep the camera on, just film it straight after, but you won't see it till I've edited it.